The torture chambers of the Legion of Christ, Catholic religious order founded by a pedophile and flourishing to this day in the Roman Catholic Church. This is episode 57 of my English language tapings, reading and commenting on my book about joining and living in and leaving and prospering after the Legion of Christ. As you can see, a naive and sentimental Dubliner in the Legion of Christ. Chapter 15, we're commenting on sexual abuse in the Legion. There's nothing here exactly to nothing morbid or scandalous about what I'm going to say, but I will talk about sexual abuse in chapter 15. This particular part of the story is called the Puma's Lair. And because when I was writing this, I was calling Father Maciel the Puma, the cougar, because I felt that was a good image to use in his case, him being so stealthy and so lethal in his when he pounced on his victims, on his prey. The torture chambers of the Legionaries of Christ, where Maciel abused many seminarians in the 1950s. For Father Maciel's victims, the logistics of the college on Via Aurelia to this day, 677, Via Aurelia Nova, will never be forgotten. A pretty cream-colored E-shaped 4-story with large windows, it was surrounded by well-manicured gardens and dotted with elegant Roman pines. Jose Barba even today refers to it with its Italian name, Collegio Massimo, a kind of special way to say major seminary, as I keep saying to him. Because for us legionaries, the Legion was special, and its buildings had a charm of their own. And the buildings were designed mostly through the influence of Father Maciel, who was into every single detail. So in that sense, he was quite obsessive compulsive, as well as being a malignant narcissist and predatory pedophile. Part of Barba, the innocent, intact youth, still radiates the idealism that inspired him when first he came to that holy and classical city, full of this desire to learn about and immerse himself in the classics. He was a young intellectual, a young idealist who commanded the Latin and the Greek languages and wanted to, as I say, totally immerse himself in the culture of ancient Rome and etc. This was the idealist Jose Barba. He still radiates the idealism that inspired him when first he came to that holy and classical city, thrilled by the presence of ancient and modern cultures and languages. But that charming place, housing 90 seminarians ages 5 to 25, would be the scene of his torture, the scene of his Holocaust. That continues to be, to this very day, the mother house of the Legionaries of Christ. If I were Scipio, or Scipio, perhaps, I would have had it burned to the ground. Delendus est Collegio Massimo. The torture chamber where he and others met their fate was Father Maciel's sleeping quarters. The bed, his gas chamber. Not remembering any clear details about the infirmary, as it was called, I sent an SOS to Pepe when I was writing this book. I sent it to three of Maciel's victims. And here, 50 years later, Pepe Barba tells us exactly where the infirmary was. Please note that, like other survivors from that generation, he keeps calling Maciel MM, as if it's a kind of a secret code for Maciel. Can't stand it. He writes to me in Spanish. Paul, the infamous infirmary at the Collegio Massimo in Via Aurelia 677 in Rome was located on the first ground that we call the first floor, the ground floor, we would call that. It's a, in Spanish, planta baja, the first floor, I would say. Almost exactly in front of the billiard room and adjacent to the service door. This billiard room was later used in my time as the conference room. We took our Sunday talks there. And adjacent to the service door, it had a window looking out onto the basketball court, behind which lay the tennis court for those legionaries who have been there. Immediately behind the door to the infirmary, there was a rather small space with three white doors, one directly facing the person coming in, and two other doors, one on the left and one on the right. Maciel used to stay, lodge, sleep, and sexually prey mostly in the room on the left. Had a window with a Venetian blind looking out onto the playgrounds that we've just described. The room on the right used to also have a window with a Venetian blind looking into the front gardens, the college's front gardens, and an almond tree was outside the window. I think that Pepe reminiscence about this almond tree being such a beguiling and beautiful piece of nature, and witnessing the horrible abuse that they were subject to. Pepe goes on to describe all the details of that room, and I've decided that I'm leaving them out. Sometimes Maciel would change from one room to the other, and very rarely he would lodge, at that time, 50s, at the suite reserved for the rector of the Collegio, which was on the second floor directly opposite the choir and the chapel. Therefore, sexually abusing us, if it happened there, it would happen directly across from the chapel and where Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament lay for our adoration. During 1955, over a period of less than 6 months, Maciel abused me in both rooms. Normally, there was only one bed in the room on the left. The right side room usually contained a typical high, narrow, kind of a little operating bed, which I was familiar with because I used to help Dr. Valenti when I was there in Rome. I was the male nurse in the community. Pepe continues writing, I have the testimony from another ex-legionary that on one occasion, he found Maciel and another legionary, both half naked, in bed, composed of two twin beds pulled together. According to that legionary, that testimony, this happened in the 50s. Pepe says in his letter, I am withholding the names of these legionaries, now both ex-members, one of them a priest, Jose. To the same request for exact information regarding the location of the infirmary, Juan Jose Vaca wrote, chastening me. Dear Paul, your question about the Infermeria in Rome, it was situated in the left corner of the building facing Via Aurelia on the first floor near the escaleras, the service stairs, and next to the service door. The infermeria had three parts, etc. Coincides. As you enter on the left was a room used by Maciel to sleep in and sexually abuse his victims. Its window was facing, looking out onto the basketball court and tennis court. Facing the entrance door, a bathroom with bathtub, sink, and toilet was located. To the right was the infirmeria, properly speaking, with a cabinet for medications and diverse infirmary items. Corresponds exactly with Jose Burr, and a kind of a stretcher bed and a floor lamp in the corner. Since you were the enfermero, the male nurse, after Penilla trained you as his successor in this egregious responsibility, I wonder why you don't remember such a notorious place. Maybe your memory is in denial. Tell me. That's enough for today. A smile at the end of this sad story. As I say, legionaries have very short memories, especially the active legionaries. They rewrite the history. They don't want to talk about these things. They don't want to talk about Father Maciel being a predatory pedophile, a serial predatory pedophile. What else do you want? The founder of the order. They at the present are trying to resuscitate him. They're trying to revalidate him as the founder, who was not all that bad. You know, he was a sad case, but not really such a bad person. And he was a founder, and he gave them their charism. He gave them their spiritual gift given by the Holy Spirit, bequeathed to the church to enrich the Holy Church with this charism, Greek word for gift, to enrich Holy Mother the Church. And I'm still waiting to see it and to experience it. But that's just because I'm a man of little faith. Lord, I believe, but help thou my lack of faith.